President Donald Trump announced today that Tylenol used during pregnancy could lead to autism. What does this mean for you? Is this true? Is it not true? Let's talk about it. My name is Dr. Kojo Sarfo. I'm your Hollywood mental health expert. If you're new here, and I post about neurodivergence and all things mental health. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to waste your time. First and foremost, there is no evidence that suggests that Tylenol use, also known as acetaminophen, leads to autism. This is something that I know, and I also went and did some research. I went to look for some evidence-based articles, and I did not see anything that suggests that Tylenol use leads to autism. But what do we know as of right now that leads to autism? So first and foremost, if somebody asks me what leads to autism, I'm going to say I don't know, because I actually don't know. And saying I don't know is very liberating because I don't know. But as of right now, we do know that if you have autism in your family, autism runs a family. So if you have a parent with autism or a grandparent with autism, or if both of your parents have autism, theoretically, there's a higher chance that you also could be autistic. Also, I've seen studies suggesting that advanced parental age could be a contributing factor to autism. And I see this more with men. So if you're a guy and you're older, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you have a child, there could be a link between that and autism. Maternal obesity and diabetes, premature birth, or complications during pregnancy, for example, hypoxia, not getting enough oxygen. These are things that the evidence has suggested could be contributing factors to autism. So we actually do have some evidence behind these things. Now, how much of a factor do these things play in the development of autism? I don't know, but we do have some evidence that suggests that there's a link here. Now, when it comes to prenatal exposure to certain medications, what do we actually have to be worried about if we're talking about the development of autism? Let's talk about it. So I'm in the field of psychiatry. So the first thing that I'm going to say is the anticonvulsants, things like Depakote, also known as valproic acid. If you're a lady who's expecting, you're in the first or second trimester, and you're wondering which medication to avoid if you want to lower the likelihood of your child potentially having autism, I'm going to say Depakote or valproic acid. This is a medication that we know can lead to neural tube defects in your child. And on top of that, there's a link between prenatal exposure to valproic acid and the development of autism. We do have some evidence behind this. We actually have some evidence behind this. With Tylenol, not so much. Depakote, aka valproic acid, we do have some evidence there. But with this specific medication, this isn't a medication that you'd be taking during pregnancy at all. And if you're taking something like valproic acid, Depakote, or even lithium, especially lithium in the first trimester, you would have to talk to your psych and let them know. Even when you're trying for a baby, let your psych know so that you can work your way off of these medications before you actually get pregnant. However, when it comes to Tylenol, aka acetaminophen, I don't see any evidence that suggests that prenatal exposure to acetaminophen can lead to the development of autism. And I know, because I looked. I've never found evidence before today, but I did some deep diving and I still couldn't find any evidence. But I want to assume positive intent on behalf of the president and the current administration. Even the fact that we're talking about autism sheds a light on the condition, and it gives hope to people who have autism, and it gives me a chance to define what a condition is. Autism means that the way that you communicate with the world is a little different from how other people communicate with the world and how they experience the world. So because of this, you have to account for it by having some type of external support. And we have 3 levels of autism, 1, 2, and 3. The higher level, the more support you need theoretically. The real problem with autism is that most individuals don't get the support that they need, or they get diagnosed later in life. And you've gone through all this trauma and this pain and this heartbreak of not knowing who you are on a fundamental level. So because you don't know who you are and what diagnosis you have, it's hard for you to advocate for yourself. So that's the real problem with autism. It's not the fact that it divides families. I don't believe that it does. Now, if you look at the evidence, if your child has ADHD and or autism, we've seen that when this is the case, the divorce rates are higher. Yes, it's harder to have neurodivergent children. It's more expensive. You have to live in a city, hopefully, that has the proper care for your family and for your child. So these things can add financial stressors, health stressors. It can be difficult to parent a child who's on the spectrum. But I don't believe that it breaks apart families. And when you understand how your autistic child communicates, and you're able to advocate for them. And even better, you're able to empower them to where they can advocate for themselves. Even if they don't communicate with words, you can communicate by gesturing, by pointing, by even how you're looking at somebody or something. When an autistic person has autonomy and they're able to articulate themselves however best they can do it, it's going to improve their confidence. And when we can create a world for everybody, including autistic individuals, allowing them to feel empowered and allowing them to feel autonomous, that's what we really need to get to here. That's what's going to change not only their life, but also the lives of other people, the support system. So as we're talking about autism and looking for the cause of autism, I commend the administration for looking into the cause of autism. That's, in 2022, the CDC said that, when looking at 8-year-old children, 1 in 31 kids, were autistic. 2 years before that, it was 1 in 36. So we're having more and more people being diagnosed with autism. So it is something to look into. So I give the current administration kudos for looking into it. Now, scientifically speaking, there's no link between acetaminophen and autism. I just haven't seen it. So I can't say that that's the case because I haven't seen it. But I will give the current administration kudos for looking into it. And as we look into it, my only thing is that I hope we can also look for ways to support autistic individuals. Because once they have a world where they feel wanted, they feel like they can express themselves effectively, they don't have to mask as often. Because masking, as we know it, can lead to the development of chronic illnesses. Masking and repressing who you are can physically make you sick. So a lot of people didn't know that. And if you didn't know, I'm letting you know right now. So creating a world where everybody can feel valued and we can express ourselves and not have to worry about putting on a front and just be who we are. That's really where I feel like we should be spending our time. We should still look into the things that are contributing factors to autism and do our best to account for them. But the same effort that we put into this research should also be put into creating a world for not just autistic people, but all neurodivergent folks, all folks in general. So that's a quick video. I hope this answered a couple of questions that I received. I got a lot of DMs about this today. A lot of people forwarding me what President Donald Trump said. So shout out to the administration for looking into autism and doing their best to figure out what causes it. I'm just providing y'all with the evidence-based information. These are just cold hard facts backed by science. And I had a chance to work with the prior administration on the White House roundtable. Me and a couple of other social media influencers had a chance to go to the White House twice. At least for me, I went twice and give our thoughts and our opinions. So, hey, President Donald Trump, if you want Dr. Kojo to come out to the White House, I'll come back. I'll come back. Just holler at your boy. I can educate the current administration about autism, and hopefully you can find a way to help the Titans win a couple of games, because my Tennessee Titans are struggling right now and I'm not feeling too good about it. I've been a little depressed, but the fact that we haven't won a single game and we just had the #1 overall pick, so we're the worst team in the league. And I don't know what this has to do with autism. I just figured that I would play that in. So that's all I got for this video. If you've made it this far, thank you for your attention. I appreciate you. I love you. And like I always say, a lot of people care about you, and I'm one of them. Peace. Love you.